All right, so the year's 2013, and a bar comes back to life on Atlantic Avenue. That bar obviously is Long Island Bar, and this is VinePair's The Build Out. I am your host, Adam Teeter. So today I'm joined by Toby and Joel. Thank you guys for joining, the owners of Long Island Bar. A bar that is probably very well known to lots of people now, but when you guys first opened it, obviously it was a very brand new idea. So before we jump into why you decided to open a bar and together, can you tell me a brief history of both of your backgrounds that got you into the bar industry to begin with?
Sure. Should I go first?
Yeah.
I have been working in F&B, as it's now called, since long before it was called F&B. I started working in restaurants at the age of 15 and did a thing that is impossible now. I put myself through college waiting tables in Madison, Wisconsin. Subsequently moved to France for a few years and came to New York from there directly and got a job at the Odeon immediately and worked there for 4 years. And that's where I was sort of tapped to become a bartender by Paul Basic, the bar manager there at the time. And worked there. So I started in 87 as a bartender. So I don't know, what does that make? 30, going on 39 years of tending bar. And subsequently went through a number of places. I worked for a while at a place called Kin Cow in Soho for 8 years. And then I opened a bar with a friend of mine, Gavin Brown, in the meatpacking district called Passerby. Had that for a decade. And that is where Joel came in.
So Joel, what was your background?
Very similar to Toby's. Age of 14, I started working at a very high-end establishment called Dairy Queen.
Nice.
And worked my way up from there. Also put myself through college as a server at Al Forno in Providence, Rhode Island. And unlike Toby, I took a healthy break. I had an office job after college for about 10 years. But even during that period, on the side, I was running an underground restaurant called Coach Peach's.
Cool.
And that was happening around the time Toby and I met.
So how did you guys meet?
This is actually great. So Joel's then girlfriend, now wife, used to come into Passerby.
Okay.
And with a friend of hers, and one day she was like, "You should meet my boyfriend. He runs a restaurant, sort of." And I was like, "So you either run a restaurant or you don't? Like, what do you mean exactly?" And she's like, "Well, I mean, it's kind of," and she was just kind of hemming and hawing, and she's Russian. So she was just kind of looking for the words. And I was like, wait a minute. Are you saying he has like an unauthorized restaurant? He has like an underground restaurant? And she was like, yeah, sort of. Like he just runs it with a friend of his and like their sisters wait tables. And I was like, no, I'm fascinated by these. I was writing for the New York Times at the time, and I actually wanted to do a piece on underground restaurants. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to seek these out actually right now. Like let me, and so she was like, okay, I'll put you in touch. And then I went to Coach Peach's, and it was kind of incredible. And we sort of hit it off from there.
Wow.
Really, the reason we met is because I wanted to ask him to stop hitting on my girlfriend. She kept telling me about this bartender who was giving her and her friend free drinks and was so charming. And I was like, all right, this stops now. No, just kidding. I skeptically went in to meet Toby, and we hit it off right away. And I actually insisted that he let me bartend on a few nights a week at Passerby. Wow. So that's where I learned all of his tricks of the trade, and we started talking as Passerby ended, whether we should open a place together.
Yeah, Passerby, the lease got taken away from us. We had 7 years left on the lease, but they exercised like a demolition clause in like the 76th page of it, whereby they're like, oh yeah, you're out. We're demolishing the building, which they actually didn't do, but there's nothing you can do. You know, people can just yank your bar away from you at any moment. So at that point, I was a bit tailspun, and Joel was like, hey, let's do another bar together. And, I thought it would be like 6 months and we'd have a bar. And it ended up taking like 3 years or something.
Okay.
Or more. Yeah.
So, how did you know you wanted, you obviously got along really well together, but how did you decide all of a sudden, like, we're going to become partners? Because that's something I think that people talk about a lot. Partnerships can be really hard, right? I have a partnership as well. You have to find the right mix. So how did you know initially that you would be the right mix of partners?
Yeah, it's something you have to feel out pretty carefully. Like in Passerby, the partnership was difficult. And so I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking a pass on that. I'm doing my own thing. But then I was like, this guy's like sharp and heads up, he's funny, has great ideas. And like, we just sort of like gel. This is probably, I thought about it. I'm like, I don't really want to take this on totally alone. And I could use a partner, but I need a partner who's like easier to deal with and just more like grounded. And like Joel is easily that. Like, you should think about this.
Did you guys know that you had like different skill sets as well when you were combining, right? And I find, at least with my partnership with Josh, we have very different skill sets, and I think that's why we work so well together. And that sometimes when I meet other partners who have the similar skill sets, that's when you find that like tension comes up. Was that also the same? I mean, you're obviously running a restaurant, Joel, but and working at Toby's bar, but did you have the same sort of passion for cocktails, or was yours more for the business side of things or the operational side of things?
Definitely more for the business side.
Yep.
I knew I had it in me to deal with all of the lease negotiations and financial business plan building and all that stuff. And Toby had something that I saw as unique back then, but I don't think I even realized how unique, because I still have yet to meet someone quite like him in this industry.
Yeah, totally.
As someone in food and beverage media, you know what I'm talking about.
Totally.
He had this ability when I first met him to have an encyclopedic knowledge of spirits and to find them a subject worthy of study and craft, and not an ounce of pretension about them. And this is at a time when we're having an explosion in very pretentious cocktail bars.
Yeah, totally.
And I loved that combination, that you could go into Passerby and have a crazy New York City night, but also learn something about a rare whiskey that you've never heard of. And I couldn't wait to sort of pair up with that skill set. And it's worked out great. I find myself definitely more behind the scenes, and Toby is taking the stage in exactly the way I hoped he would. And I think it's created a beloved.
Let me be clear
bar.
that like we do have very different skill sets, but I totally could have navigated the whole thing without him, because like I'm aware that there are like laws and you have to pay bills or something. Like, I mean, I'm sort of like, I think I kind of grasp those things, right?
You would have
like,
been fine.
Yeah, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
So you guys said you want to go into business together. How did you decide where you wanted to go into business? I mean, you're operating in Manhattan. Obviously now you have a bar in Brooklyn. What was the conversation?
Oof, that was crazy. Like I said, I thought we would have a bar in 6 months. I'm like, well, we're just going to hit the ground running here. Like, we looked at a lot of places and a lot of dogs. But we also looked at places that were cool that we liked, and then we'd like have extended conversations with people about going in, like what we would do, this and that, and like literally would show up to sign leases to have people be like, hey, sorry, someone this morning offered $75,000 more key money than you. Sorry, like we gave it to them. You know, we're like, we've been talking for 4 months. What do you like? We're supposed to sign today. They're like, New York, it's New York. Like this happened numerous times. Like once where we really wasted a lot of time on a space that is now a bar, but that I'm sort of glad is not my bar.
Was it also in Brooklyn or was it Manhattan?
It was in Manhattan.
Wow.
I was also super annoying, insisting on, why can't we have a bar on the 30th floor of an office building? Or
really?
Like in one of the stanchions under the Brooklyn Bridge? Like, why can't we find a really cool space?
Joel wanted us to like rent a submarine in the bay. And like, I'm just like, okay, it'll be esoteric enough. We're just like getting something open. Can we just like, he's like, no, like we could pitch a tent on top of the Empire State Building on certain Tuesdays when they're closed for the like, observation deck. I'm like, okay, all right. Okay. We don't have to go that far, you know.
Yeah.
But so we ended up getting a Long Island bar through just complete happen chance.
Really?
Like Joel had years earlier been like slipping letters under the door to the family there saying, hey, I'm interested in this space, blah, blah, blah. Like, but you know, like the women who owned it, Emma and her two cousins, Pepita and Maruja, like they had closed it a number of years. They closed it, incidentally, the year that I closed Passerby.
They just closed it.
They just closed it. They were in their 90s. They'd run it for 56 years, the three of them, with no employees. Well, the four of them and Emma's husband, Buddy, who died in the 70s. So like they never had an employee. It's incredible. These three women ran this place for 56 years, like super old school. And they just closed it because they're like, okay, we're 112 now.
Yeah.
and they own a number of other buildings, and they were just like, we don't need to do this anymore. But they were uninterested in somebody else taking it over. They were just like, we don't want anybody in the bar. We just don't, like, we don't need to, like, the space can just stay.
They're just going to keep the space kind of vacant.
So everybody, was looking in those windows, like me included, for years. Just like, God, this place is amazing. Like, literally, they closed it with like the glasses on the shelves, and
everyone wanted it.
It looked like they just closed it one day, because that's in fact what they did. They just closed it one day, and that was it. And everybody was importuning them for it, and they were just not having any of it. And
I looked this morning for the email. I had emailed the owner's granddaughter at a jewelry shop. I was looking for it this morning because I remembered she responded something to the effect of like, "Please stop writing me."
Really?
Everyone
just like, leave us alone.
Yeah, leave me alone.
And we know her well now, Marissa.
Did you guys live in the area that you were aware of it?
Both of us did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I lived 6 blocks away, and Joel did also. So, there was a shop that popped up across Atlantic Avenue called Goose Barnacle.
Yep.
Seemed to be like
love Goose Barnacle.
Cool menswear and sort of curated art stuff. And I was like, this place is kind of cool, but it just was never open. And I was like, what's going on here? One day I saw it open. I went in. I started talking to the kid, David Alperin, who owns it. And I was like, why is this place never open? He's like, oh, it's open. I just I'm on a different schedule, blah, blah, blah. We started talking. He was like, what do you do? This and that. And, I told him about Passerby and that I'm looking for a space. And he was like, oh my God, Passerby, that was like one of my favorite places. That's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's been quite a while. Like we've had some false starts and whatever. Yeah. And he sort of, held his cards to his vest for a while. And then I kept kind of going in intermittently. And at one point he's like, how's the search going? Oh, what happened was there was an open storefront next to his shop.
Okay.
I was like, hey, what's going on with this storefront? And he was like, I think it's taken. I'm like, you think? Or like, how do you, he's like, yeah, no, it's taken. I didn't realize, it's like this whole thing came out that was like part of his family's property. And so he knew it. And I was like, God, yeah, of course it is, because it's not even up for lease, and everything goes through these like under sub channels. You can't get a foot in anything. And just like out of nowhere, he was like, what would you think about the Long Island restaurant on the corner there? And I was like, what do you mean, what would I think? Like, what does anybody think? Like, are you joking? Like, he's like, I'm not joking. And I'm like, everybody knows the story with that place. It's like some crazy Spanish woman owns it. She lives in Spain. She won't talk to anybody, whatever. And he was like, oh, she's not crazy. She's my grandma. And I was like,
amazing.
Wait, what? Your family owns that place that like everybody's trying to get into? And he's like, I mean, my grandmother does. Yeah. He was like, I mean, I can't, I have the keys if you want to see it. You want to go in and see it? I was like, yeah, I do. Yeah. And so he just closed up his shop, and we walked across the street, and he opened it up, and I was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm walking into this space that I've been looking into for years.
Yeah.
And while we were in there, these 3 very old women come across the street, and, this woman's like, who's in here? And he's like, Grandma, it's me. It's David. I'm just here with a friend who's a bartender. And she kind of looked me up and down, and she was like, he's no bartender. My buddy was a bartender. I was like, oh, I beg to differ. Like, you should feel my back. You should see my knees, whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, maybe he's a bartender, And that was like our whole exchange.
Wow.
And the next day, he texted me. He's like, my grandma wants to offer you the lease on the bar. And I was like, what? This is fake. Are you like, this is joking? And I told Joel, and he was like losing his mind. I was like, listen, this is going to fall through.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's just no way. Like, just don't get your hopes up. Like, there's something's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to ask for like $50,000 a month, or it's just going to be like, or she's just going to change her mind. Like, we've seen this happen like dozens of times now. And David was like, you don't know my grandma. She is old school. If she says something, it's like that. I was like, let's get a lease today. I'll sign a lease today. We'll sign a lease now. And she's like, you don't need to. Like, if she says it,
That's
it's done. Yeah. And we were like, no. I mean, I just kept suspended disbelief for literally months. I'm like, this is not really happening.
Yeah.
But it was that. It was just like it was that kind of like simple sort of like old school transaction. Like, I met them. I like them. Let's let these boys have the bar.
Wow. So you get the bar, you get the lease. How much design and work did you have to put into it when you took it over?
It's a little deceiving because when you walk in now, it looks a lot like it did when we first got our hands on it.
Yeah.
But as we were walking around the space, deciding what to do, what to fix, what to change, we heard this voice come through the ceiling. We can hear every word that you're saying. And it turned out the upstairs tenants had basically like a layer of paper towel between them and the bar.
That was it.
And we really quickly realized that we were going to have to do something about that. So taking down the ceiling to do soundproofing led to discovering that all the wiring was like frayed cloth wiring. And that led to realizing that all the plumbing was, ancient and breaking down. So we ended up replacing electrical, plumbing, insulation, and putting it all back together again.
Yeah, what I tell people is nothing and everything. Like, it would have been much simpler to gut the whole place and make a new bar.
Yeah.
But it's a bar from 1949.
Yeah.
And it looks, you can't fake that. Like, people walk in, they're just like, oh my gosh. There's no Disneyland that you can like effectuate like that.
Yeah.
So we had to retain everything because we wanted to retain everything. But to do that, we had to literally rebuild everything. All the electrical, all the plumbing. The basement floor was dirt held up by tree trunks.
Wow.
Like, we had to redo the entire basement, like dig it all out, pour cement, put down structural supports, like all the plumbing, all the waste plumbing down there, all the electrical through the whole thing. We had to bring in a bunch more electrical from the street. It was just like, and doing that while not disturbing, it took us like a year and a half. And people were like, what are you doing in there? Like, it looks the same. We're like, yeah, nothing. You're just
restoring.
We're hamming around in there. Yeah. Just like polishing glassware and whatnot. It was a ton of work. Like, behind the bar, there was a school desk that they worked on. And there was a metal sink with, I couldn't figure this out. There was a gas pipe coming out of the ground under the sink with a stopcock on it. And I was like, and I asked Emma, like, what is going on with it? Well, I can't figure this out. And she's like, that's the way you clean the dishes. You light the fire under the sink to make the water hot, and then you do the dishes there. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's DOH
Not at all.
actually. I think we're gonna have to do some changing here.
Wow.
Like, it was antediluvian. And so there was it was such a weird process of behind the scenes having to like update everything and put in modular cocktail stations and everything while retaining everything as best you can.
Wow.
We carefully preserved every single one of Buddy's cigarette burns on the bar.
Yeah, I actually love that. That character in the bar along the rail. It's amazing. Just
that was his drink rail. So that's where he posed his ashtray. And so we pulled the wooden drink rail off the bar because it would have been just like impractical and sodden. And we made that a drink rail along the standing wall. And so we preserved all of his like cigarette burns everywhere. Yeah.
That's amazing. So did you guys raise money to open the bar, or did you bootstrap it yourselves? And what was that experience like?
My wife and I funded it, and we got to give a shout out to her because she's not only helped fund it, but was the one who sort of kicked my butt when I was in the office job and said, "Go open a bar with Toby. Like,
wow,
you don't belong here."
That's amazing.
I'm grateful to her for that and for the financial support.
There was an early investor who was going to do it, I have to say. And then he backed out because he bought a major chair in the Houston Astros, right? Is that right? And then
okay.
He's like, yeah, I can't do your bar. We're like, okay.
Cool guy.
Yeah.
So when you get the space, you bring it back to life. Did you have a concept in your head, Toby, of like what you wanted the drinks menu to be? Like, did you just want to go back and have classic drinks? What kind of spin were you trying to put on the place?
I'm trying to think of what my mindset was back then, but I think it was probably largely what it is now. Like, I sort of pray at the altar of like the classic lexicon with all kinds of nudges. It's like you take a classic drink and you nudge. It's like you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you do have to like experiment with a Manhattan or a daiquiri or whatever you're doing over and over and over and make tiny tweaks until you've got what you think is the platonic ideal. And or the whole Mr. Potato Head thing where you like swap out this vermouth for this Amaro and whatever, like just doing things like that. And I I mean, that was like the easy part. My feeling is like, I put things on that I like. And I just think if I like it, if I find it interesting for some reason, other people are going to as well. This has been borne out to be completely untrue in many, many cases. But like in the majority of them, people are like, oh, how weird, a potato thing. And I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about potatoes and I thought, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, this is gross. I'm like, yes, but this other drink, you have to agree. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of like all the build out, this and that, but I sort of didn't think about what I was going to do with the menu. I'm like, let's just get it open and I'll just start messing around. Then it'll be easy. I have decades of bartending to draw from, and let's just put out a greatest hits to begin with, and then we'll start expanding from there. And I found that it was just easier to keep a very tightly curated small list that you then swap things out a little bit, like not to overwhelm people, and to simply be like, look, we have great bartenders. They can do anything you want, but here's 10 drinks,
right?
That you might or might not like to start with.
And did you always plan to do food as well?
Not really.
I don't know. We not really. No, we were looking to open a bar, and passerby, for instance, had no food.
Right.
So I think that was the template. But then when you take this place over and it has a kitchen and it has a history of being, it was a longshoreman bar that like had a lot that like, like Pepita, one of the Spanish women, she was the cook, for decades there. And we were like, well, we have this kitchen now and it's a restaurant. It's kind of a tavern. We sort of now have to do food. Like we're redoing the kitchen as well. Now we got to get a chef. We were just looking at each other like, how does this work?
We ran it for about a year without food.
No, not that long.
Well, okay, almost a year. And not only does the room want it, you can tell it just, the food belongs in there.
Yeah, totally.
But the people, our guests clearly wanted it. They would come in and have one drink, maybe two, and then they'd be like, really, no food? Like, we're out of here.
Yeah, people were just like, no, this is beat. We're going to go someplace we can eat. We're
right.
Like, we're losing people here.
Interesting.
By not, we were like, let's just not have food for a while. And we found the vibe was just all wrong. And so, yeah. And so we were casting around like, what are we going to do? So, we kind of fell back on what they were doing, which was burgers mostly.
Burgers, yeah. Cheese curds.
Well, the cheese curds I brought in because I'm from Wisconsin, yeah.
Yeah. So when you went to open the bar on that first night, weekend, et cetera, what had you done in the run-up to sort of get the word out? Did you guys hire PR? Did you do press? Was it word of mouth? And were you nervous as hell when you finally opened?
We didn't do any press.
Really?
No.
We're both very allergic to PR. I can think of one or two meetings we've had with PR people who are good friends. And and we walk out of those meetings being like, why would anyone do that? That sounds terrible. But we've obviously enjoyed the benefits of that corner. Like that space, that location, it doesn't need a whole lot of PR. I feel like the minute that neon sign went on for the first time in 30 years, the entire neighborhood was just drawn to it.
I mean, I remember going within the first few months of you guys opening and it being so packed, I couldn't move. Just being like, wow, I mean, and I was coming over from the East Village, just like, holy crap. And I don't even remember how I found out about it. I mean, it's probably through word of mouth that there was this cool bar that had opened on Atlantic Avenue when, there hadn't been one there. Yeah,
I think leftover from passerby, I still had this impression of like, the less you talk about it, the more people will sort of crave it. Like you make it this thing that they discovered and they're like, I don't even know what this bar is about. Like it doesn't even have a sign. I don't know what it is, but like you go there and there's a lighted disco floor and whatever. And that thing just grows and people, so like not hearing from Eater or not hearing from like a PR company that like so-and-so have opened this and that, like just finding something organically on your own, like you're like, there's this weird tavern that like wasn't there and now it's there.
And now it is, yeah.
I just always felt like that's the way I want people to discover it. And even if it's like a little fallow in the beginning, that's fine because we're getting our feet and that should be the case so that by the time there's some momentum, like we know where the corners are and where, what we have to do, that should all seem like organically correct and luckily worked that way.
When did you have a feeling, maybe you still don't, but that the bar was successful or that like, you were on solid ground?
For me, it was, I had basically one goal for the career trajectory of the bar, and
Yeah.
that was to be on David Wondrich's list of Esquire's best bars.
Wow. Okay. Real. That was it.
And that happened very fast, like maybe year 2. And I just remember being like, oh my God, I made it. We did
Yeah.
it. It's a silly milestone, but I absolutely loved his writing as I was learning about bartending.
Yeah, totally.
And loved his lists. And that's when I felt like we had made it. How about you?
On the other hand, I'm good friends with David Wondrich, and I couldn't care less. I think my rubric for success is a lot higher bar. Once we have surpassed their 56 years, then I feel
Then you'll feel like you did it.
we've done it. Yeah.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really allergic to things like our 10th anniversary. Like I have like not a phobia. What am I trying to say? A superstition about those
Yeah,
things.
totally.
I'm like, I don't want to ever do that, because the moment you do that is when you're going to be forced to close somehow. So when people are like, how many years has it been? How many, like, when is your anniversary? I'm like, sometime, it's in the autumn. I know the date, but I don't tell anybody, because I just am like, just, keep flying the waters. I don't, it's like, I'm very superstitious about that stuff, like celebrating yourself in some way. I just
Never feels.
Yeah.
Were there times in, the last 10 plus years where there was real fear about the bar and its longevity?
COVID's the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah. Did something happen like 5 years ago? I seem to have.
Not only because Toby just up and disappeared like the day after bars and restaurants were closed.
The day up.
And went straight to the hospital.
Yeah. COVID got me rather badly.
Yeah.
And so we thought we'd close Rockwell, I think, at the time. But even then, like, Joe was like, don't worry, we'll keep the bar open, hook or crook. Like, we'll just, we'll figure it out. But then it was quite a while. Like, nobody wanted to come back to work for a while because everybody was being paid out by the government. So I had to get better. It was quite a few months before we could get it back open.
Mm-hmm.
Only that, really. I think beyond that, everybody had that going on.
Yeah.
I think, we've been extraordinarily lucky with this space. And I always say it when people walk in, they're like, this place is incredible. I'm like, yeah, I don't really take credit. Like, we worked like crazy on it, but it really is just the space. Like, the space is amazing and the corner is amazing. And those are things that are just ineffable that you can't, you literally can't buy. Like, those are things that are uncontrollable, but when they're working in your favor, you're just like, yeah, people just, of course, there's a lot to running a place and,
totally.
and keeping it hospitable and keeping things, on sort of the upper level. But lots of people do that and don't have success, even though you're like, I don't understand. Their food was amazing. It was like, the people were so nice. That place was just firing. And then like 3 months later, they're closed. This is New York. It happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
What do you think it has been about Long Island Bar that you've been able to attract so many incredible bartenders to work there, right? People who, Phil Ward, et cetera, who've worked at other really great bars, but now, you talk to them and they say this is the best place they've ever worked.
By incredible, do you mean incredibly old?
Old, but also very talented. Probably
right.
could own their own place if they wanted to.
Right. At some point, there were 4 or 5 bartenders working for us who all had their own bars.
Yeah, you told me that, yeah.
Or did currently. So yeah, KJ, Moo, Phil, myself, I think there was one other. But yeah, it's incredible. So when we opened, my thought was, how are we going to get staff? How are we going to keep staff? This place is small. I don't know what the money is going to be like at all. And so I had this brilliant idea where I was like, I'm going to make up cards and go around and poach baristas. Because like the kind of people I need are like sharp kids who are like super detail focused and whatnot, but can still actually do. I was like, I'm going to make up a card that says, hey, want to get out of this drudgery and actually learn a real job that will pay you? Come work for me. I will train you how to tend bar. But I never had to do that because people started, like Phil and other people started being like, look, I don't want to work in like these like, speakeasy cocktail bars, like, in vests and ties or whatever. Like, I want to come and work for you. And I'm like, I don't think you do, man. Like, I don't know what this is going to be at all. I don't know if we're going to be making money. Like, I'm going to be behind the bar for the large part. and I don't know, like train some kids to like work with me or whatever. And pretty soon we had like a geriatric home for like so disenfranchised like cocktail bartenders who didn't want to work anymore in like the strictures of those kind of places. And immediately it's just like the combined age of our bartenders was like 200 years. I'm like, what? This isn't at all what I envisioned. And we can't, and they're barnacles. We can't pry them out like, to like for better and worse, really.
A couple things I can think of. One is, they're not often asked by clientele, like, impress me. What can you make with like a kumquat and yellow chartreuse? Their expertise is like enjoyed, but not really like, they're not really like, people aren't attempting to stump them or get something crazy out of them. Another thing is we've seen a couple of them leave for more exacting, complicated cocktail bars. And you ask them how it's going, they're like, I'm working like 200% more hours. I've had to memorize 700 drinks. I'm not sleeping. It's just it's a lot harder at some of these like bars that are on a similar level. I think the clientele we get is a great mix. Neighborhood people, tourists, people from all over New York who want to come check it out, all different ages. It's a great, fun place to bartend, I think.
There's also like a weird fiscal thing that I have been aware of for years here, where like early on we were getting people coming from Nomad or the Edition, or like these huge, beautiful, sumptuous bars, and be like, dude, I want to come and work for you. I'm like, are you mad? Like, you're working in this incredible bar. Like that place, I just went 2 weeks ago. The place was madhouse. Like, it's so packed. And they're like, yeah, no, it's insanity. We work 12-hour shifts on Saturday. There's 150 people in the tip pool. I walk with $175 a night.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, you're kidding. Like, I would think you'd be making 800 in that place a night. And they're like,
no.
So like, they're like these places that are like hugely staffed. You have to take into like some of them are making killer money. I'm sure like people in clubs are still like doing club money, but like I became aware that there's this like sort of disparity between like a small, you have to really like concentrate on what the tip pool is. Like you've got this much staff overseeing a space this size. There's only so much money that comes in and out, despite however sumptuous it is. And a lot of people were complaining, like, I mean, we work like dogs and we're not making that much money. And I'm like, wow, that didn't occur to me. That's really surprising.
Mm-hmm. You both said you've really shied away from press, right? No publicist, et cetera. Has that also been a conscious decision because you really want to be a neighborhood bar, right? That you want to be a bar that's actually, like if you did a lot of press, right, I think deservedly so, you'd get a lot of accolades, but then you'd probably have a line out the door all the time, right? And then you wouldn't be that spot for the neighborhood. Is that part of the reason?
No.
No.
No. I don't think that we would have a line out the door if we had PR and press. Like that stuff all kind of goes to our industry. It's all industry insider stuff. It's not like the basic layperson doesn't know who Phil Ward is, doesn't know who I am, doesn't care. They're like, that place is supposed to have like a good burger and good drinks. I don't know. I've heard or I've read, like whatever. Like that's the extent of what most people are doing there. If you have PR press who are like, oh, Toby Cecchini invented the Cosmopolitan and Phil Ward used to own My Well and this and that and blah, blah, blah. That appeals to all the people in our industry.
Right.
And then, they come and whatever, but we kind of have that already. And it doesn't it's not a drop in your actual well. It's like, that's not where you make your real money. Your real money is just like, you're a tavern for the neighborhood and the neighborhood finds you and supports you. And so people are not coming from London and Paris and LA and Manhattan even. It's just like basically, like they are, you get those people, but that's not where the bulk of things are. And so like courting those people through like PR and press and whatever internationally I don't think is going to like lift our boat. Like our boat gets lifted by being a neighborhood place.
Mm-hmm. We should own up to the fact that we've enjoyed the results of every single food and drink journalist living in Cobble Hill.
Yeah.
Over the years, twice a year we get like editor's choice list in XYZ magazine. And I'm like, Toby, look at this. I can't believe it. And he's like, oh yeah, he lives around the corner.
But people send me these things and I'm like, oh, I didn't see that. Like, that's cool. Like we're on the 50 best list. that's weird. How did that happen? I mean, like, that's cool. That's, I'm sure, good for some things, but it's not a thing that we court, and that we didn't go to the 50 best dinner because we're like, why would we do that?
Right.
Like, we're just working away. It's like, those things are important to some people. I think if you have like a huge emporium that's like an international place in Manhattan or other cities, like that stuff is very important to you. It's not kind of the way our bar works, and our bar doesn't even have that capacity. So
yeah, it feels like to me that is something that is a lot more important, or I sense that's a lot more important to these younger bartenders that I'll meet who really want to be on the 50 best list, or like the kids would say thirsty for it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a mistake?
I don't know. I don't know what you do with that. I mean, I guess if you're younger and you're trying to build your CV and be like, I want to be a superstar in this industry, I took this bar to the 50 best list, and then I went to Hong Kong and I took that bar to the 50 best list. I mean, that stuff speaks volumes for one personally.
Yep.
And definitely, like, younger people in this industry are now doing that thing where they're like, I worked at Death, I worked at here, I worked at there, then I went to the umbrella company, and they're working for 6 months in a bar to get the bona fides and the thing on their CV to say, like, I worked in all these cool cocktail bars, then I went to London and worked there, and like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think there is some appeal for people in that. When I see CVs like that, I'm like, how come you can't stay anywhere for too long?
Yeah.
That doesn't bode well for someone I want to hire. But it's kind of the done thing now, where it's like, I want to become a superstar, so I need to have all these things on my CV where I've worked. I don't know. In the end, what are you angling towards? To be like an influencer, or do you want to open your own bar? Because if you're going to open your own bar, what does that really get you?
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
I don't know. Maybe you're asking the wrong person.
That's a great answer.
Am I too old for this question?
No, I actually love the answer.
Right.
And I love it. So where do you see the bar in 50 plus years? Still open?
That entirely depends on so many things. I'm always very skittish because I had my bar once taken away from me like that. And so you realize that if you don't own the building, you don't know what the future is.
Yep.
The people who own the building seem to love us, so that all bodes well. I only have like 60 or so years left because I'm 62 now. So I have to like nurture those carefully.
Yeah.
I think if any bar in New York City is going to be around in 60 years, it's high on the list, I think.
Yeah.
Everyone wants that space to remain a bar.
Yeah, totally.
But like Toby said, like, we feel acutely at the whim of the landlord. They may have some life circumstances that makes them want to sell the building, and the new owner might not want a bar. Who knows? But long after he and I are gone, assuming the building owner wants it there, I think it'll be there, much the same way.
Cool. Yeah. 3 questions for you to end. First question: if you had to only drink one cocktail on the cocktail menu at Long Island Bar, what cocktail would it be and why?
On the menu?
On the menu.
Oh, the gimlet, the lime ginger gimlet that we make the cordial for. I just think like making your own lime cordial is such a particular thing and makes a gimlet so superb. That drink just still blows my mind.
Right. Joel?
I'm going to give this one out to the staff, the Asylum, every bartender's favorite drink to make. No, I'm joking. I put this on the list and it lasted for about 2 days. It's a favorite drink of mine, but all the bartenders think it's absolute garbage. But I stand by it, and I drink it to this day.
I love it. If you guys could open a bar anywhere else in the world, where would you open it?
In the world.
In the world?
Yeah, you can open it wherever. You could tell me New York City, but you already have the perfect bar in New York City, so I'm not sure you'd open a second.
Yeah, we talked about the vagaries. I mean, I have friends who have bars in separate countries and how that works, and we talked about like, wow, that's insane. We did talk about like both London and Paris.
Yeah.
But we're like, how does that work? How do you keep on tabs on that? Like, how do you dash back and forth between bars in other places?
I'm going to go Australia. I feel like they would really treasure a Long Island bar.
They would.
Because they're a Long Island in a way, right? When you think about it.
All right. And then last, What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to open a bar?
I know what mine is.
Go for it.
Opening a bar is super exciting and fun during the build out and all the like lead up phase. And then once it is opened and in place, it is simply maintenance. Everything is maintenance. And so like, it's not that all the glamour goes away. Like if you love this business and you love interacting with people and whatnot, then it is sort of like part work and part social life in this weird sort of blended way. But largely what owning a bar is maintenance, like both physical maintenance of the actual plant and all kinds of maintenance with staffing and this and that. Like it's just putting out fires and putting out fires and putting out fires and fixing and fixing and fixing. And if you incorporate that in your mindset before you open, then you're good. You're like, no, I'm Johnny on the spot. I can do anything. I can fix anything. I can like have the people. Great. You're the person for that. If you just think it's going to be glamour and whatever, then you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yep. Joel?
This is like advice I would give to my younger self.
Okay.
Which is just do it. Don't be afraid. I spent too long listening to, random voices like say your aunt and uncle tell you, 90% of restaurants fail within the first year.
Yeah.
Like first of all, those stats are always overblown. Second of all, like if you're smart and you really want to do this, you're not going to be in that 90%. Like it's doable. Lots of people have made it work and been successful at it, and go for it.
Cool. Well, Toby, Joel, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of The Build Out and talking about a very special bar, Long Island Bar. It's been great to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to VinePair's The Build Out. The show is produced, filmed, recorded, and edited by Darby Seasai. Editorial direction from VinePair's editor-in-chief, Joanna Sciarrino. Design of the logo by Marcello Bevilacqua. And thanks to the entire VinePair team, especially my co-founder, Joshua Mallon. I've been your host, Adam Teeter. Until next time, thanks for listening.